what we're going to do is we're going to generate two random numbers for a key and then join those random numbers together. So it's a very trivial application. Ahead of time I made this slaves.txt file, which just has the IP addresses that correspond to these shells over here. Each of these is a separate EC2 instance. So I'm going to load my K console, and you can see what slaves.txt looks like when we import it into K. I'm actually going to store it in a slightly nicer format. So this is a list of symbols corresponding to the IP addresses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these symbols into handles. So I'm going to get a socket connection for each of those machines. The way I do that is like this. So what happened is I ran this function on each of the IP addresses and it opened a connection at port 1234. So now what I'm going to do is locally I'm going to create an empty dictionary and set the value at k equal to the empty list. And you can see over here that we haven't created dictionaries on these instances, so D returns a null. Now here is the magic part of what we're about to do. So we're going to run this big function at each of the handles that we just opened. And what this function does is it takes that handle and it runs asynchronously this command, which is create an empty dictionary and store it in D, and then for the key K, set the value equal to two random numbers less than 99. And we execute that and it returns immediately, gives us a list of 3 nulls. It doesn't stop to wait for any return values. So if we want to actually see what dictionaries we created on each of those instances, we can run the synchronous command, which is dyadic4, and we'll get those values back. And it's kind of difficult to read if you aren't familiar. This is a big long list of individual dictionaries, right? And so these values correspond to the values we get up here, these to the next one, and so on. We can clean this up a little. So what we're going to do is run the same thing we ran before, but we're going to take the value at k for each of those items, and then we're going to join them all together and store it in R. So we're finished at that point, but we can add that list to our existing k locally on the machine. So we get a dictionary with 6 random values, 2 for each machine over here. And we can see that they actually did create the random values on each instance. We didn't just make that up. So if you want to see more, check us out on GitHub at Kona, K-O-N-A.